Yes.
That's how we start this. Kind of, it's pretty casual. We haven't really said anything to Ben yet about what we're going to talk about because I don't think we really know.
Oh, we know.
Oh, Maj-Lis knows. Sorry.
It's
She's
all-
got a plan.
She always knows.
I always have a plan. It's only his deepest, darkest secrets
Oh, that'll be
to
fun.
be revealed
I
today.
only have one.
Interesting.
I mean, we probably shouldn't blow that load in the first 30 seconds. So let's save that for later.
It should probably be
We'll
at
say
the
that.
end, I'm thinking. So I'm Ken, one of the co-hosts here, teacher over at YogaPod, and assistant manager over at YogaPod.
Yes, you are.
And a
They
little
call
bit.
you the ass man.
My niece really does.
Yeah.
She likes to use that acronym. That's not an acronym. It's just an abbreviation.
Yeah, it's an abbreviation. I didn't abbreviate it on my own. That's the abbreviation.
You say that with a straight face. That's unbelievable. Okay, who are you, Maj-Lis?
My name is Maj-Lis Delgado, and my husband and I are the local owners of YogaPod Fort Collins. I'm
Mhm.
also a lover of food and nature.
This is gonna be a good one today. I can already tell. Maj-Lis is all hopped up on aminos.
True story.
She doesn't even know what's going on. And you've got your friend here today, right?
I do.
Your buddy?
Friends,
Friends.
BFFs.
Yeah.
This is my friend Ben Hyman.
Mm.
Ben, you introduce
Thank you.
yourself.
Yeah, my name's Ben Hyman.
Wait a minute. I thought it was Prather.
You're right. It
It
is
is.
Prather to everyone except those in my family. Those
okay.
in my family call it Prather.
Oh, okay.
And, no, it's common. But I am a friend of YogaPod and Maj-Lis and Jana and now Ken.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking, like, why in the world would you guys have me on this podcast? But I think my perspective as a new yoga player might be kind of interesting.
Ooh, we're doing yoga play.
Well, I can't.
Don't call me a player. I
I'm
just
not-
crush a lot of
that's right.
hoes.
I'm not willing to
Yikes.
call myself a yogi.
Mm.
I think that's a little much, but but a yoga guy.
But it's okay for Maj-Lis to call herself a yogi.
Well, I mean, she went to the trouble of owning a yoga studio. So she has some rights.
It seems okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Ben, I think you're discounting yourself, and I'm really proud of you and fascinated by your journey because you have been a devoted practitioner and tried to learn everything you can about yoga and the practice, but you're just an overall really well-educated human. You have a really robust background in sports and exercise. What is it?
Science.
So your perspective is really interesting, and I am really excited to have you kind of share your background and your story, and then your experience with yoga and what it's changed for you. So
This is gonna be fun.
Yeah.
oh yeah.
This is exciting.
Yeah. So my background is in more traditional. Well, not more traditional. I guess nothing's more traditional than yoga. But like weightlifting and your sports specific stuff, and so it's been really fun and interesting to me to try this yoga stuff out and realize just how dang hard it is for me, how many calories I burn, and it's a ego check. And let me get in there real quick.
Yeah, you
Get
can
up
move.
on
You can
that
move up
mic.
closer if you like.
Ego check, and it's a real humbling thing to do. So good for the body, but good for the ego and good for the mind when I'm done. So I've been having a really good time with it.
So Ben, tell us a little bit about, first of all, where'd you grow up?
Grew up in Loveland,
The land of love.
Loveland, Colorado.
Where'd you go to high school?
High school at Thompson Valley.
What year did you graduate?
2001 was my graduation year.
Okay.
Mm.
You wouldn't know. Well, maybe you.
We have some.
Yeah, my wife's family is all from Loveland. They all went to Thompson Valley. The
Oh.
Ellers.
Ellers.
Sarah Eller probably graduated right around that time.
I think I recognize the name. I can't.
Yeah,
put a
a bunch of
face on it, though.
sisters, one brother.
I didn't
one
bring my
lone brother.
yearbook.
Maybe you made out with one or more of the sisters.
Whoa, easy. I mean,
don't-
I did
don't-
just with one. Just with one.
Okay.
Sure, my
I
wife.
wish I could say yes, but no,
Okay.
I
Okay.
don't recall making out with an Eller.
Okay, interesting. Did you like your time in Loveland?
Yeah, I don't have, I've only ever lived in Loveland, Greeley, and Fort Collins.
Okay.
So my wife is from Sioux Falls, South Dakota. So she has a unique perspective.
Burr.
She's seen both. Yeah, cold. I've been on some vacations. I always wanted to come home. But yeah, I think Loveland's a fantastic place. You hear a lot of people telling you how great it is here. And I agree, but I can't really compare it to much else.
Yeah. You liked growing up there, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've seen it grow like crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I'm not in love with the traffic and the amount of people running around at all hours of every day, but I work in sales, so
Sure.
I have to remind myself that
That's good. More people means more sales,
that
right?
lends to sales and
Yeah.
and my paycheck. So
Why do you like selling things to people, Ben?
I'm not your traditional classic sales guy who can sell can of a
Ice to an Eskimo.
yeah, I'm not that way, but what I really like is the relationship building aspect of it. Getting to make friends with these people that I work with on a regular basis.
Sure.
And I'm in business sales, so if I understand your business and kind of know what you're up against, it's really fun to be able to recommend the right technology to solve some business headaches. So I really enjoy it for that reason.
Right on.
So you're growing up in Loveland. You played sports.
I played some sports.
What'd you play?
So as a kid, I played everything: baseball, basketball, soccer, football, but ended up being better at football than any of the others.
What position did you play?
I was a linebacker on defense.
Okay.
And so, that's kind of what got me into the exercise stuff and being interested in, lifting weights and building my body and improving my cardio and stuff like that.
How good a shape were you in high school?
I was in pretty good shape.
Like 6-pack ab status?
No, never that. That's my baby pictures. I have some decent abs after that. I kept a pretty nice chunk there. But I was pretty strong compared to a lot of my classmates and stuff, and got an opportunity through football to go to college at a bunch of different schools.
You had a scholarship?
I had some offers. I ended up not taking one and went as an invited walk-on to UNC.
Really? Why'd you make that decision?
Because I was scared to leave home.
Oh, Ben. For reals?
Yeah, sincerely.
Do you regret that?
Not really. I think, to my point earlier about not having much perspective about anywhere other than Northern Colorado, I think that would have been nice. I could have gone to some schools in the Pacific Northwest, which is really cool to me. There were some things in Iowa and Nebraska and Kansas that cool.
not super appealing.
It's all good.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah,
It's like Eastern Colorado.
Right.
You're like, I'm good. I've been to Sterling.
Exactly.
I kind of know what it's like. Yeah.
So there's a part of me that wonders what might have been, but I'm really happy with what's going on now in my life, and I don't think I'd be where I am now with some big decisions different in my past. So ended up going to UNC.
You didn't get concussion syndrome?
Not that I know. I mean, I have
Maybe.
some unreported, probably.
Okay. Okay.
But
so you go to UNC as
bell
a
rung a few
walk-on.
times.
Yeah.
Yeah. A few times is we're estimating low. But
For reals? Do you think there was any damage during the time you played?
There was a Stanford study that talks about like 98%. I'm going to butcher this, so don't judge, but like 98% of people who played football at any level have some sort of CTE.
Really?
So by that study, I would say for sure I'm well in that range. But I don't know. I don't notice any problems or any crazy headaches or anything weird like that.
Okay.
What position do you play in college?
Well, I didn't play anything in college. I went as an invited walk-on, and I was getting ready to tell you, like I thought I was an athlete. I thought I was in shape.
And then you got there and
did winter stuff like running and lifting weights with the guys, and found out real quick I did not belong there at all.
Aww.
So, and actually got cut.
No shit.
Yeah. So
How do you get cut? What do they say to you? Like they bring you in an office?
nothing. It's as cold as it gets. So you go through all that. Wake up at 5 a.m. freshman year of college. The last thing I want to
man.
be doing lifting weights and sprinting and stuff like that in the morning. And when it's all over, they just post a piece of paper with names on it.
What?
Mhm.
And my name wasn't there, and I was like, no. That was it was interesting.
Did you fall to your knees and grab your head?
Not like no, not.
But
But I wanted to. Like,
yeah,
because that tough,
totally. I
my
bet.
entire
Aw.
identity was built in.
Yeah,
I'm at least good at football,
sure.
and so
Wow.
people knew me as a child and as a young guy as Ben the football guy, or at least I believe they did,
Yeah.
and so it was really interesting time of my life to try to figure out, well, geez, what am I going to do now?
Yeah.
That I'm
Totally.
not the football guy,
Sure.
and that was wild. So, um,
And then you were Ben the party guy.
so then I was Ben the guy who took doubled my freshman 15 and drank 1,000 beers and jungle juice. And,
For reals?
Yeah. yeah, so we had fun.
Did you get good grades?
No, I didn't really get good grades. No.
So you're not doing good in school. You're
So you
drinking.
get cut from the football team.
partying.
You're drinking 1,000 beers. And
Are you in
you're
a
not doing good grades.
fraternity?
No, I didn't go that route.
Okay.
But so
Bet you learned a lot.
I learned
Maybe?
some stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, no, so
Yeah.
I started school studying kinesiology,
Okay.
which is where this exercise science Maj-Lis is talking about comes from.
Okay.
And I loved it. When I quit football, I went to college just because I wanted to play football. I didn't think about my studies. I didn't think about next year or my
Sure.
career path ahead. So when that left my life, that was kind of a tough time for me to figure out, what am I going to do next?
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet.
I bet.
About that same time, I had a guy who graduated with all A's in that same program tell me, well, don't do kinesiology. You don't get a job after that unless you want to be a doctor or something. And I for sure wasn't going to be a doctor. So what I did was I decided to go do construction management at CSU because I knew if I finished there, then I'm cool. I can find a job.
Get a
It's
job.
a really well-known
Sure.
program, and you make good money doing that.
Mm.
But I don't give a shit about construction, Ken. So that was another challenge for me.
Particularly interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So I went there for a while, passed a fire academy on the way to school all the time, and ended up leaving school to go through the fire academy.
So you didn't graduate?
No.
I didn't know this.
No, I didn't. Yeah. Well, see, I had to lie to you. So Maj-Lis hired me at Verizon.
Oh, okay.
And
So you
so-
told her that you graduated. You're like,
Oh,
oh,
yeah.
yeah, I've got a degree.
Straight A's,
It's cool.
yeah, a
Yep.
couple degrees.
Super smart.
Okay.
Yep. Played on the football team. Yeah. Mhm.
Totally.
Go
So
Bears.
That's why you didn't.
Okay, great. I still feel the same way about you. You're still wonderful.
No, so I don't have a degree. I was really scared to tell my dad when I wanted to quit school and go be a firefighter. And it was so cool because when I told him, he was just like, cool, go do it. Like, go do something you want to
Aw.
do. And
There you go.
that was the neatest thing ever.
Hmm.
It sent me on a path of doing all kinds of shit that
Yeah.
I thought I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
So you went to
So,
the fire academy.
Fire
So, yeah.
Then
academy.
what happened?
Fire
And then
Academy
pole
was great.
dancer.
Pole dancer was after that. Shortly
Okay.
After.
Mm-hmm.
No, so I went to the fire academy. I loved the academy. I loved the idea of fighting fire, and I was pretty good at it.
Mm-hmm.
Graduated, of course. Got an EMT-B certificate, which was cool.
What's
and
EMT? Emergency medical technician for the butt.
But yeah, only butts.
You only
only butt
service
emergencies.
Right.
emergency butt
They only called me
situations.
for anal and butt cheek
Okay.
emergencies.
Yeah.
Okay, related.
Yep.
Interesting.
There were
Okay.
very few. So
Wasn't sustainable.
no, B stands for basic,
Ah.
which is what most fire departments require. Some of them are making you be a paramedic now. But I figured my kinesiology background would lend itself to emergency medical stuff.
Totally.
But it didn't. I didn't. In Loveland, you run mostly medical calls, which
Uh-huh.
is where I volunteered, and those guys were awesome. I really enjoyed my time. But I just wasn't, I didn't feel confident. Even though I had the certificate and the schooling and stuff, I just didn't feel like I was the guy who should be handling things for a medical emergency.
Wow.
Interesting.
Do you
Which
see
is
a
kind
theme?
Which is kind of one of those things that you don't want the guy to come in and be like,
Meh.
I'm not really sure, but it seems like maybe we should do this.
Exactly.
You know, and there's like blood squirting across the room.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm 50% sure I can handle this.
Right.
Well,
You got to get in there and
Ben,
pretend
do you
to
see
know.
this theme that you showed up at the football thing and then you're like, yeah, I'm not supposed to be here.
Hmm.
You show up at the EMT situation, and you're like, yeah, no,
Totally.
I'm not supposed to be here. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, I still am so envious of those that go through high school. Probably the Ellers did this. They know what they want to do when they grow up, and they just go get it.
No,
Um,
there's not. I mean, there was a couple,
No.
maybe a couple of the seven, that went and did it.
Well,
have-
I respect that you are assessing it and assessing your ability to not do something, because I have the opposite approach. I'll have absolutely no skill set or ability to be somewhere, and I'm like, I'm gonna own this bitch.
Mhm.
I'm doing it. Like, I'll show
Yeah.
up tomorrow and I'll be an EMT. I have no training.
Well, so that's because you're not a quitter.
No, that's
No.
not it. It's because I just make up that I can do stuff. So I
Mm.
respect the fact that you're assessing it logically. And
There's actually. So have you watched? I wonder what. So if you watch yourself sing, do you think you're good?
no, that's the
Okay.
one thing I can't do.
Okay.
That's it.
That's
You could be
the
a
only
president.
thing.
I heard this.
I
in the
know I
previous
can do
podcast.
anything, but I can't sing.
Huh. Interesting.
I mean, I do sing.
Not that good at it.
I'm not great.
Where are you going with
Hmm.
that, Ken? What do you feel?
No, I just was. I was just wondering what. Yeah, her perception of herself was.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm realistic when it comes to my artistic talents. Everything else,
you got it.
fake my way through.
I got it.
Yeah. Well, so I was just
Okay.
trying to find my place. So I got
So not a firefighter, not a football player, not a doctor.
not a doctor. Yeah.
We're doing a lot of knots so
not
far.
Yeah. So
Uh-huh.
so then I went to work. I was working at Home Depot at the time, and
Mm.
I knew I was not
Love that
a
orange.
lifer at Home
Love
Depot
that
either.
orange apron.
Yeah,
Right?
I rocked
You
it.
do a lot
Yep.
of screw in there,
I did some screw. Yeah, quite a bit of screw. um,
banging,
banging, screwing,
hammering of things.
ripping.
This is weird.
Yeah.
This is so weird.
Rolling
Yeah,
paint.
yeah.
Mhm.
Anyway, so then after all the screwing, then I went on to I worked in construction equipment rental, and then left and went and worked on a drilling rig for a while. Knew I didn't real quicker than the others. Knew I was not a drilling rig guy.
Wow.
Mhm.
Um,
That's an interesting subculture, huh?
oh man, yeah. So again, I was drawn to the money. A
Sure.
friend of mine was doing it, and he was doing really well.
Yeah.
He told me I was hired, so I was like, okay, well, do I need a, application or no? You're
Like
just hired.
warm
Just-
body.
Just show up.
Yep.
So on 4th of July one year, I drove up to the West Slope where they were drilling for a lot of gas, and there were fireworks going off, and I was driving to this drilling rig, and I knew nothing about what I was going to find and do.
Mhm.
7 days on, 7 days off, 12-hour
What?
days. It was an interesting life to live for a while, and we were remote, so there was a double wide trailer on site with just a bunch of bunk beds.
Mhm.
So
So you're with a whole bunch of dudes.
yeah, when you're
a
done
double
working,
wide.
you're still with all these, some of them were
Bros.
scumbags, totally,
Really?
and some of them were great. Some of them I'm still friends with,
Well,
but it was a really weird experience, and had
They
I
doing
listened,
any yoga out there in the double wide?
no yoga. What was wild is you'd see these guys. I would be so whooped when I was done working that 12-hour day lifting heavy stuff all day long, and these guys would finish work, get totally wasted till like 2 a.m. Come, stumble into the trailer, wake me up, go to sleep for like a couple hours, wake up and go back to work the next day. I don't know how they did it.
Wow.
So
That can't be
Impressive.
good long term
no,
for your
I
health.
mean, most of these guys, when they get old, they're pretty banged up and
Mhm.
and wrecked.
Yeah.
But again, finding a bunch of stuff I didn't want to do, and ended up working for my dad for a while, helping him run a moving business. Started having kids with my wife, and
Aw, who's so awesome.
who's great. Yes, Allison, I love you. There she
Hey.
is. See her right
Aw.
there.
Mhm.
And so what happened was, now I need insurance, and I didn't have any. So I started looking for
Is that a
jobs with
thing? People need insurance?
Yeah.
Oh,
needed it.
weird. I got to
needed
get
it.
on that.
Ken uses the land as his insurance.
That's right.
Ended up short story long. Ended up at Verizon. Maj-Lis hired me against her better judgment,
Not true.
but
She was like, this guy's got potential.
right, he graduated college.
He played football.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she's been a really special friend to me, and and right away, working for her and learning from her, she really helped me to understand. Like,
How many years ago was this?
Gosh,
Give us a
was like-
timeline.
this must have been
About-
like
Decade?
7 years ago.
Yeah.
6, 7 years ago.
Ooh,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
An LTF, the old long-term friend.
LTF.
Yeah, that's a real.
Yeah.
Ben
that's a
is an
real thing.
LTF.
Yeah. All right.
But she was really cool because she, and you guys know this who have been around her. She really empowered me to look at what I wanted out of life and out of work at Verizon, and just start working towards going and getting it, and help me to believe that I could do it. And I'm not going to own Verizon next year, but I'm doing better.
I don't
and,
know how you own Verizon, but
no,
okay.
you don't.
Yeah.
There are shareholders.
They own you, but
Right.
And a board of directors
Mhm.
and a
For
CEO.
sure. Own me.
Yeah.
But I owe a lot of my success and my career path and sticking to something, and I have a house now and a mortgage and a couple cars, but the satisfaction of being able to take care of my family, I have to thank Maj-Lis for
Oh my gosh.
look at that.
What?
No, sincerely,
Ben?
for-
No.
for believing in myself enough and continuing down the path
See?
to get that. So
I bet there's a lot of people out there that have that story, Maj-Lis.
Oh, you
I-
guys.
You're one of those
seriously.
people.
yeah, I can't
That-
imagine I'm the
Yeah.
only one.
Thank you.
You lift people up.
Well, I love people, and I'm surrounded by the most amazing people, and all I do is point out what's already awesome about them and want them to share that with the world, and Ben was such a hard worker, is a hard worker, and he was just ready to do anything. He was motivated and trying to be creative, and I think it's easy when you go into a machine like the Verizon to just like execute on the process. And there's another layer of that where no matter how big the organization is and how small of a piece you are, you can be the difference. And and Ben was that. He was like coming up with new ideas and being proactive, and at the end of the day, he's a good guy. He doesn't have a mean bone in his body. You don't. You're just a great human being, and those are the type of people that deserve all the things.
So being a good guy, how do you not just get chewed up and spit out?
That's a really good question. When I started working in a commission sales environment,
Yeah.
I saw some shit. Ken, and I was like, whoa, I didn't. You walk in as a customer to a Verizon store, or probably the same with like a Sprint store, AT&T, whatever, and you kind of figure some of these kids are just college kids getting by, and some of them are making $100K plus a year,
Sure.
and doing
Got the
whatever
hustle
it
down.
takes
Sure.
to make that money.
Make that cheddar.
And Maj-Lis was teaching most of the crazy greasy sales tactics.
Sell them all the shit they don't
Go,
need.
Maj-Lis.
No, but you see some stuff, and you take returns, and you take, and there was a side of me like, oh my gosh, when in that environment, corrupt behavior sometimes is rewarded. And
if it affects the bottom line, yeah,
Right.
yeah,
And
if you're
so
making money for them.
So you stay in there long enough, and you see good people start doing crazy stuff.
Totally.
Yeah, motivated by money. Yeah.
And I was never willing to do that. I was good enough at connecting with people and trying to learn about them quickly that I could recommend the right thing for them and do okay.
Yeah.
But then after that, I proved myself. I got to be a manager like Maj-Lis was, and now you got to try to train these people not to do this crazy stuff, but also, if they're selling well, then I'm making a little more money too.
You got to motivate them. Yep.
And it's an interesting process, but
Mm-hmm.
I think you just be true to who you are. And my Midwestern parents raised me right to do the right thing most of the time, and I think most of the time I do the right thing.
Sure.
Sometimes I wasn't the most successful or top of the leaderboard. But I'm okay with that as long as I
Yeah.
can sleep well at night. And I know some of those people can't.
How important is that to you, like being at the top?
It's less important than taking good care of my family.
Mhm.
I don't mind.
Doing the right thing.
Yeah, some of those people that make it to the top are, like I said, they're doing some things that I would never feel comfortable doing. So
Mm-hmm.
to that point, it makes me feel comfortable being second, third, fourth place if I have to, because
Sure.
my kids are eating well.
You know what you're doing. Yeah.
Yeah,
You know
I'm able to
you're
get a
doing
little
the right thing. Yeah.
little chub on me.
Yeah.
We're doing all right.
So, Ben, you settled into your career. You have an amazing family. Things are good. Um, Talk to me about when you said, I'm gonna try yoga. I'm gonna try something new. What happened?
Couple of things took me to yoga. First of all, I mean, of course, we've established I'm friends with Maj-Lis. I know she's getting into YogaPod, and I was actually.
So was she working for you, or were you working for her when she bought YogaPod or when she started YogaPod?
No, at that time she was at Comcast.
Oh, that's right.
So she
Yeah, I
ditched us
left
all.
at
I
that
knew
time.
That. Yeah.
And but we stayed in touch, and there were some opportunities at Comcast she let me know about that I applied for, and so we remained friends, and so I knew this was going to happen. Actually, I was working at the Verizon right down the street from YogaPod when it all started happening, when construction started, and
Okay.
she's wearing this pink hard hat, coming and using our microwave, and my boss is like, "What is going on?"
Yeah.
Oh, we know
Nice.
her. She's a friend of ours.
So like 3 doors down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it was just a gray shell. Like we started construction and I would just roll in and then overhear people doing things wrong in the store and try not to tell them. Are you even gonna pitch this with accessories? Like, is this your first day
Right.
here?
Yeah.
And I don't work there anymore.
Okay. I hear you.
So then, so for that reason, I wanted to be supportive, and but never really thought like I was gonna go try yoga. Honestly,
Sure.
I
I mean, who does?
Well, well, see, I had this misconception, and I think it's so sad about yoga, and a lot of people have it that yoga is like the Om stuff and the stretching and
Sure.
and hanging out
Can be.
and like chakras or whatever that is and stuff and like
crystals and
yeah.
special places. Yeah.
all that. So I was like, well, it's cool that Maj-Lis is doing that, but I just never really saw
Not for
myself
me.
as
Not really
the
for me.
Om guy.
Your
Yeah.
football driller,
Right.
Bro.
Yeah.
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 So
firefighter.
so I held out for probably a couple years after you opened the place.
Yeah, I was like, come take a
mhm.
class. Come.
And kind of what
Yeah.
happened, like there's a couple things that got me back into trying to be in shape and doing some things that I wasn't comfortable with, like yoga. And so last year, right after Christmas, my dad had a heart attack. That was a real shocker for me.
Mm-hmm.
How old was
and
he at the time?
He was 66.
Wow. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Not terribly out of shape, but he had a fully blocked artery and one that was like 90%.
Whoa.
And I was just chilling after Christmas. I had a few days off and got a call from my mom, and she didn't have to say anything. I knew, just off of her voice, something bad was going on.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's fine. He's cool. He's healthy now. He's passed his test with flying colors. And but it kind of caused me to take kind of a gut check. Like, okay, you have kids of your own.
Mm-hmm.
You need to really get yourself back in shape. And so that paired with an experience I had actually hunting. I know you're a hunter, right?
I do hunt. Yeah.
I wouldn't call myself a hunter, just like I wouldn't call myself a yogi.
Yeah.
But I've been hunting.
Yeah.
I went last year. I went third season elk hunting last year.
Did you get one?
We ended up. I didn't shoot one.
Yeah.
But the group I was
But
with
you got to
two.
pack one out, didn't you?
So that was really fun.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm here right now during third season, and not out elk hunting again. But no, we actually ended up getting kind of lost.
Oh, really?
Out there, yeah.
Oh, wow. That's not good.
Like for reals lost?
Not lost to the point where we had no idea what to do.
Yeah.
But we were about 5 miles back in the country looking for elk,
Yeah.
and we found some.
Mm-hmm.
And two of the guys that I was with shot one.
Mm-hmm.
So now
Each.
each.
So there's 3 of you,
No, well, there were let's see, there were 5 of us,
5 of you, and 2 elk
2 elk
on the ground.
on the ground. Yeah,
So
and
that's like, I don't know, 600 pounds of meat, 700 pounds of meat.
ridiculous. Kid.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah, it's a lot of
Yeah.
packing out.
Yeah, we're 5 miles in. It's not like we walk down the road 5 miles, at least it's up and down and up and down and
Yeah,
Heavy
it's no
terrain.
joke. Yeah.
Yeah.
crazy. And this all happened at like 2 p.m. Again,
Yeah.
I don't know anything.
Yeah.
I'm just
You're like,
let's,
that's good.
Let's shoot
Cool."
elk. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
So we got
So
'em-
it's nighttime before you get them like dressed out or whatever.
right. Well, so yeah, it was almost dark by the time we had quarters on our packs and
Yeah.
time to get out of there.
Mm-hmm.
Still, I don't know. Whatever. We'll go 5 miles because the way we came was the easy way.
Sure.
You know?
The
But-
only way to come.
Right. so what happened was we had this app on our phones called Onyx, which
Yeah.
is like a GPS app. that
Yeah.
tells you where to go. to
Uh-oh, did
tracks.
Onyx send you the wrong way?
No, Onyx was fine. But here's the deal.
You didn't know how to use it.
I had it on my phone, but I didn't start it when we left the trail
Oh, yeah.
because my brother-in-law did.
Mm-hmm.
By the time we got up, with 2 elk up this big hill,
Yeah.
his phone ran out of batteries.
Yeah, it did.
Ooh.
So I was able to start mine up. My
Mhm.
phone had plenty of batteries, but we didn't have a trail,
Oh, yeah.
and it was dark.
Ooh.
So what?
Dun,
we're-
dun, dun. He's
So-
here, so he's alive. It's not that
Yeah, it's
suspenseful.
all
I
good.
mean,
I
come
lived.
on.
Did
Yeah.
you think about killing the other people in your party
Yeah,
and eating them?
I
Well,
remember,
he had a quarter of elk on his back, which is like 100 pounds of meat. So I
Yeah.
think he's
Okay.
good in terms of the food
I just asked if he
possibilities.
thought about it. I
Well,
didn't.
I would have. It brought me back to Star Wars, and I was gonna crawl
Crawl
into
inside.
one of their.
Oh, the
bellies.
tuk tuk,
Yeah, that's a good
right?
idea.
For
Mhm.
sure. I knew that, so I was prepared.
Mm.
But no, so we're walking around, and we had a guy with us who was very confident that he knew what to do. And again, I don't know. It's my first time.
Sure.
So I was like, cool, I'll follow you.
But he
But we ended up
didn't.
making like laps around this mountain. So we
How
turned on my
annoyed were you
app.
at that, dude?
Yeah, that was rough. So now it's dark.
I love the guy who is like overly confident but doesn't know what he's talking about. That's
Totally.
my favorite guy.
Totally.
That is my favorite guy. I have a really good friend who's like that.
Have you been hunting with this guy?
No, I will not go hunting with him, but I
Okay.
make fun of him all the time when he's
Okay.
overly confident.
To
Sure.
his credit, this guy did end up
Getting you out.
figuring it out and getting
Okay,
us
good.
out and leading the charge.
See,
and
there you go.
everything. But what we did is we turned on my app, and then we at least knew where we had been,
Sure.
and we knew where the road was,
Yeah.
which was like straight up this huge mountain with a bunch
Yeah.
of rimrock cliffs. And several times we had to hike up through this crazy scrub brush.
Yeah.
And then turn around and go back down and then up and
With
and
100
so
pounds on your back.
with all this meat on our so we ended up actually hanging the meat in a tree and
Mm-hmm.
trying to get out of there, but we still had guns and packs and everything.
Yeah.
It was
So
snowing.
manly, all this
super
meat and
manly, yeah.
guns and yeah.
Snow.
Yeah.
Snow.
So
Mm.
there was some snow, and
Cows or bulls?
there was a bull and a cow.
Mm-hmm.
So end up, we got out. It was like, 3 a.m. when we
Mhm.
got back to camp, and everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, we made it." But it was scary, and I felt exposed, and I felt weak, and I was out of shape. Really for
Sure.
that kind of a night.
You're never in shape for that kind of night, but
No,
yeah,
that was
there's nothing to prepare you for that. But,
But-
yeah.
yeah. But so those two things kind of motivated me to like, you better figure it out. You got kids that are relying on you. You
Mhm.
got a wife that
Don't die in the
wants you to
wilderness.
get old,
Yeah.
Aw.
and so that, among a couple other things, motivated me to get back in shape.
Mm-hmm.
I tried yoga for the first couple times with actually Jared Reimer, who's been on this thing.
Yeah, he's on right
You guys
now.
know Rhyme Time.
Yeah.
Sure
Time.
do.
The best there is. That's what Jared said.
Yep.
It's you.
So I grew up with Jared. I played little league flag football with him.
There we go.
And his
All
twin
right.
brother.
Nice.
And bought a couple houses from him too. So we've been
Nice.
buddies ever since. And so he got me to go with him and took one of Jana's Podflow 1 classes, which I was just like completely shocked.
Yeah.
Again, mental clarity and the physicality of it all. It was just so interesting to me. Took a few more classes, ended up doing a hot class, which I do like the best, but it's kind of, I feel like I have to like
It's like
put
a
on my
love.
war paint.
Yeah, it's
for
like a
and
love-hate
recover
sort of
from.
thing. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, again, I put a long tail on that kite, but that's how I got into trying this stuff. What I what I got from it was just like, gosh, it's not laying around stretching. I was
No.
wrecked after the first class.
Yeah. So you took a Podflow 1 class with Jana.
Yeah.
You and Jared went.
Jared and I went. Yep.
Yeah.
Sat in
Did
the
you guys?
back.
Yeah. Did you have your mats next to each other? Were you high-fiving each other?
Yeah, homies for sure.
Nice. Right
Um,
on.
And so, you know, the core strength it requires is some of these small muscle groups that you don't get by
Yeah.
doing a
No.
bench press. Was like super shocking to me, and I was like, oh my gosh,
No.
I am such a wimp. I need to come back and strengthen all this
Figure
stuff
this
too.
out. Yeah.
And so felt like I wrung out my brain,
Mm-hmm.
That's
and
awesome.
so the mental clarity aspect was really neat. The physical challenge was really fun for me too, because I'm into that stuff. So
Right on.
I'm hooked, man. I'm down to keep coming. So as long
Cool.
as you guys will let me.
Oh, it's so nice having you in class because you're so determined when you take my class that you're gonna be in it and you're just gonna focus, and I can see the eye of the tiger, you know.
The old
Um,
Bengal tiger
the good
strength.
old
Liger.
the good old liger string. So, um, after you, how do you feel after class compared to like if you go to the gym and like do lifting?
Yeah, so totally different. In fact, I went this morning and I was looking at the calories. You burn way more calories in a yoga class in an hour than you can
What
lifting
app
weights.
do you use?
I have an Apple Watch, so it may not be the best ever app
Okay.
of all time, but it's consistent.
Yeah.
I've been using it for a year plus. So
Okay. How many calories does it say it burns?
usually a hot yoga session for me is like 450 plus.
Okay.
Is that about
Interesting.
what you guys would expect?
This morning, so I took a 90-minute hot class this morning, and it said, I burned 900 calories in 90 minutes.
Yeah, I've never done a 90. That's craziness to me right now. I'm struggling.
It's the answer.
Yeah,
It's the answer.
it's the one.
60 minutes are sweet.
Yeah.
They're fun, but the 90 minutes is like the next level.
Well, that's what's
Got to level up.
Gotta
yeah,
level
that's
up.
what's great about yoga is it's so scalable. Like
It
you
is.
don't have to be flexible, which
Right.
I thought I would need to be.
No, I'm the least flexible person on the planet.
Yeah, you don't have to be in good shape.
I don't know about that.
I'm the least flexible.
No, you come to this kid's yoga class, you'll see some kids that are pretty unflexible.
I would have thought the opposite. So this new
No.
class is really cool to me. I'd love to hear more about it.
Oh yeah, it's yoga for youth athletes. It's gonna start on the 15th of November, and it's amazing to me how unflexible kids are.
Which they naturally should be more flexible.
For sure, but they just sit there like this all day.
Yeah.
Totally.
And
If you're listening on the radio, Ken is hunching over.
Yeah, hunching over, looking at a device, and not a lot of stretching their hamstrings. Just not a lot of flexibility back there, so they can't touch their feet. All sorts of things, but we're gonna work on that.
You're
It's
gonna
gonna be
work it
great.
out.
Yeah,
That's
great.
really cool. So did you start this class because you had this strong draw for it, or do you just think it's good for kids? What prompted that? I love that.
I started it because my kid plays baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And so we started doing it for his baseball team. And then we got an opportunity to do some classes for the CSU baseball team. And then we saw the benefit that, and it was actually way after, like the guys were into it, but it was like, it's hard to quantify like whether it's working. But then afterwards, they sent us a bunch of kind of testimonials about how much it helped. And I was like, oh, wow, this like really made a big difference for them. So yeah, I'm super excited about starting it. It's gonna be really fun. Had a lot of interest.
Yeah,
That's great.
I got like 3 phone calls yesterday of parents trying
Sorry.
to sign up. No, it's great. I love it. And honestly, they're like, is there going to be more? And I was like, yeah, based on demand, like let's do more of this.
Yeah, do it every Monday, Wednesday, Friday night. Let's do it.
I think that's awesome. So I should say I'm studying to become a personal trainer right now.
Oh, interesting.
I don't know what I'm going to do with that. I can't really replace my job, my career path right now with personal training, but I just enjoy it that much. And And so I'm going through these things and I'm thinking about, gosh, they're not talking about yoga. They're talking about how to lift a weight, how to do a squat. And
Mm-hmm.
I sincerely believe that the kind of foundation you build athletically with yoga is,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's almost mandatory. I can't imagine what, I might have, what I might have been able to do had I been strong in these areas that I've been weak in all my life.
Yeah.
I love the idea of getting kiddos involved
Mm-hmm.
and especially young athletes involved. I think that's such a cool idea.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really fun.
So you're talking about calorie burn. What
Yeah.
else from a sports and exercise science perspective do you see yoga benefiting?
So Ken was talking about tight hamstrings, and I'm the worst. I have the tightest hamstrings there are. I remember after my first class, I was walking to my pickup, and I walked right past it because I was so focused on. I was like, "Oh my gosh, they're loose right now," and
Mm-hmm.
I know what it's like to walk the right way. Like
Wow.
it was such a weird aha moment. So I just wanted to walk. I was like, let's just
Neat.
walk for a while. Let's check this
Let's
out.
do walking.
Do some walking.
Hot.
But yeah, so athletically, I mean, flexibility and core strength are obviously, everybody knows you need that.
Mm-hmm.
I keep coming back though, at least for the mental kind of clarity that it brings.
Mm.
With like you said, I'm on my phone all the time too. I'm as guilty
Sure.
as anyone about it, and so there's very little time that I just don't think about all kinds of other crap.
Totally.
In a hot class specifically, all you can think about is how in the hell am I going to touch my toes in this position, and then hold it here until Maj-Lis will finally allow me to stop.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of a neat, like I said, I liken it to wringing out a dish rag, and
Mm-hmm.
that dish rag being my brain. It's really neat to walk out with kind of like a fresh perspective and a mental
Sure.
clarity.
Ben, I love that so much. And it's like, how do our biggest challenge is communicating this
Mm-hmm.
to people is like,
Yeah.
I guarantee you come, you do it consistently, you're going to feel this. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's literally going to change your perspective.
And well, what's weird too is that that's not, it's like a byproduct of it,
Totally.
right? Like it's not necessarily the intended purpose for most of the people that come to yoga, right?
Totally.
But it is a byproduct like 100% of the time for the people that do it.
Yes.
That do it on a regular basis.
And it becomes addictive
Mm-hmm.
in a positive,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
a positive addiction where you're
Mhm.
like, if I don't have that time,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not my best self. I just know it.
Yeah.
And when I walk out, like I got to practice this morning and I walked out of class and like, I don't have any problems. Like,
Yeah,
yes,
I'm all good.
they're there, but I just feel so much more equipped to deal with them
Mm-hmm.
and like understand the challenges and interact with humans that we're forced to interact with, and it's I don't know. I mean, I can talk all day about how great it is, but it makes me so happy and I get so excited when I have people that didn't have yoga before who have come to the practice. You see the benefits and it it works. It's a great case study to share with people.
100%. I wonder, do you feel like that's your biggest challenge as a yoga studio owner?
Totally.
There's so much bad information out there
Yes.
about yoga and what it's like, and I'm a victim of it,
Mm-hmm.
admittedly. How do you overcome that? You just keep.
I mean, I think we're doing it.
Yeah.
We're getting
trying
out.
to.
Yeah, we're getting out to the community. In a variety of ways, whatever that may look like. Whether it's kids or construction companies or whatever. Like we're willing to do yoga with anybody. Like,
Absolutely.
as long as they're down. Like DTY.
DTY. Are you
They're-
DTY,
If
bro?
they're down to yoga, then you can use that. By the way.
Thanks, kid.
Yep.
I'm putting that one in the
No-
tool belt.
No problem.
And-
Trademark it.
And that's what it is. And I think we've really aggressively gone after other demographics that,
Mhm.
it's everybody thinks of the, Caucasian girl that is wearing Uggs and going in her new Lululemon to the yoga studio, which, I mean, that's me, right? Like, and I love it, but that it's not just for that demographic. It's literally for everybody. Somebody that is working in sales, who's driving a whole bunch, who went to the fire academy, it's
Mhm.
that person,
Mhm.
it's the guy who rides motorcycles, who's a gifted rider, all these other things. It's like everybody. We have so many different groups of people, all sizes, all ages. And that's why yoga is so amazing, because it's accessible to anyone.
Absolutely.
Do
you feel like you turn a couple people every time you go to the construction company?
I don't know. Yeah, I do actually. I feel like if we can get people to come into the studio and experience kind of the community there and the classes, it's like we have a really good chance of retaining them, because it is, obviously the yoga is the yoga, right? But then there's the combination of that with the personality of the studio and the people in the community. It's just it's pretty hard to beat,
It
way
is.
better than going to your local bar.
Totally. Well,
It is.
even when you compare it to, like, I've been.
I mean, you can serve sangria there too, and you probably
Well,
wouldn't get
yeah.
a lot of.
Right?
Well, no, we do. But, one of our teachers was saying, he used to, the only way he would connect with his friends was they'd go to the bar, they'd watch the game and whatever.
Sure.
Now he's like, I can connect with my friends and go to a yoga class and sit on the couch afterwards and have a Perrier or whatever
Yeah.
and like relax together. And so it's a different approach to your lifestyle,
sure.
which, to your point, Ben, it's like, I think we overlook, especially in our culture today, the importance of really investing in our health and really ways that are really easy, that sitting on the couch or like motivating yourself to get up and go to the yoga studio are very small decisions. But when you have a predictable, repeatable habit of that, that's when you become 66 and you don't have a heart attack, because you've made those choices. And because you're physically engaging with your body in a way, you make better eating choices, you make better life choices.
Sure.
Like when I went to a bachelorette party in Vegas, it's 2 a.m. and I'm like, I'm going to go to bed because I would rather get up at 7 a.m. and go to a hot yoga class than stay up all night and drink. And it's like those little things that are like good life changes that you don't even know are like infiltrating your body.
You bet.
Awesome. Well, so then the other thing I think about is, so then there's this group of people that know that yoga's cool, that yoga does all these great things and helps to keep your ego in check. And what I love about your studio is that I think they're coming there because, you take all the people away and it's just a couple of rooms that can get really hot. And but what you guys do such a cool job of doing is fostering this culture there, this great environment, this, I've told Maj-Lis, like a Cheers kind of atmosphere where people know your name and they're taking a moment to ask you how your day is, and they actually care. And I think that's the neatest thing, because I think that's the hardest part about owning a gym or running a yoga studio is trying to find a way. I can go to 1,000 yoga studios on my way to YogaPod from Loveland.
Yeah, you can.
There's a lot,
yeah.
but there's only one that people are going to take the time to ask me what's going on. So I love that about you.
Oh. Well, it's awesome. And Ben, I'm like so proud of your progression and your commitment to your practice. What do you see as kind of the next step? Like, what do you want to accomplish around yoga?
I mean, honest, this is a baby step. Like, I was talking to Ken in the locker room.
Were you guys nude?
Yeah. No, I don't think we were nude. We were nude before we talked. I don't like to do all that, but
all right.
But I was asking, like, when do you start to feel like cool with all this? When do you feel confident with any of this stuff?
Yeah.
And he was saying, you really probably need to go like 3+ times a week for a month or two straight before you can even like get into the meditative part of yoga.
Sure.
I need to get there. Like, that's my next baby step. From there, once I get there, maybe a 90-minute class is in my future. And after that, I don't think I'll be taking your your teacher training or anything like that. I think I'll just be selfish and keep this for my own self.
That's great.
But we've talked in the past, and I think if I were to ever do the personal training thing, even as a side gig, I think the way I see it starting for a new client or someone who's not in great shape is yoga. Like I said, the foundational strength that you gain from yoga, it lends itself to everything. I became a better golfer from it, which I never would have thought.
Sure.
I didn't say I lost 35 pounds last year.
No.
I was
awesome.
eating right and things, but I was doing yoga.
Mm-hmm.
And I was more confident from it. Somebody, do you remember somebody dropped something glass in the locker room? It was like a chakra or something, and then like
Well,
busted
a
all over.
chakra is like a
I don't know what it is.
energy center in your body.
So
So they just dropped a chakra.
They
Yeah.
dropped a chakra.
It's like dropping a deuce.
yeah, but it
Don't
shattered
drop your
everywhere.
chakras, peeps.
Yes, I do remember that.
You do remember? So
Yeah.
I think it was like a jug. Like somebody had like what are those
Yeah.
jelly jars that people put?
Mhm.
oh yeah,
And they were like using it as a water
there was a
vessel
chakra in there or
Mhm.
something.
with their
Yeah.
chakra.
But I had become confident in my own skin, which is a huge thing for me.
Yeah.
And I went out. I didn't think about it. We needed a friggin' broom, so I went out with my shirt off, and Jana was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Oh,
She's
crap."
like, "Hey, big guy, what are
Hey.
you doing?"
No, but my point is, it has given me all of these, little yoga gifts.
Yeah.
And,
Sure.
And so I would love to help other people find that,
Yeah.
and if I start training people and getting them in shape, I think yoga has to be a huge part of that.
Yeah.
Isn't it interesting how taking your shirt off is kind of like liberating in a way because it's an intimate connection with your body when you're like practicing
Mm-hmm.
and it forces you to like accept yourself.
Yeah.
And for a long time it's like I would always practice with shirts because
Mhm.
I've had a baby and I like beer, so
Totally.
I don't have as nice a abs as I possibly could, and I'd like stare at my rolls or, the imperfections. And so I would hide that and cover that up. And I think it's really only been within the last year that I'm like, you know what, fuck it. I work really hard to be physically fit. I'm not a, swimsuit model, but like this is who I am and I'm proud of it and I love
Mhm.
myself. And so I'm going to wear a sports bra and shorts and I'm comfortable with that. And it's really changed my body perception. And I've noticed too, like, I think it's helped other people be comfortable with that. That, like, oh, Maj-Lis owns the studio, and she, doesn't look like Cindy Crawford in her yoga attire, but that's cool. Like, she's confident, she's happy, and she fucking slays that class.
Yeah.
So can I,
That's right.
Totally.
So it's a weird.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you notice too that, when you're struggling to get in this position and then hold the stupid thing, like no one cares about.
Nobody cares about your
Nobody's
body.
looking.
No one can
Nobody's
even look.
looking at your roll.
Nobody's looking.
They don't care.
And so, but it does enable you to see, how you are and how you should be.
Engagement and all that stuff.
Totally.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
for sure.
It is magical.
Mhm.
So you have these great yoga goals. What else? What do you want to accomplish? Like, what's your next horizon?
So this personal trainer stuff is really interesting to me. I've been thinking about this since I can remember in 7th grade, talking about
What?
being a not necessarily like the meathead in the gym who teaches you how to lift a weight, but
Mhm.
but I wanted to be involved in sports medicine. And so this gets me one step closer to that. And I love to help people find the right cell phone plan and the right technology, but I don't get the kind of self actualization, out of doing
Sure.
that I would love to get. So I'm envious of you guys because you can give people some of these really neat gifts and things that they can take with them forever. And I can too. I have the knowledge and I understand how. I want to get the certificate that proves it.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I want to start, going down a journey, with baby steps on how to provide those kinds of life lessons and hopefully tools to help people gain confidence and strength and check their ego and all of those cool things that I've gotten from yoga.
Nice.
That you can totally do that, and I'm really interested because you've mentioned ego like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
So what is your interpretation of the ego, and what does it look like to you to check that?
I was worried we were going to go deep. Okay.
Oh, we're going. We
we're
only do
going
deep
deep.
here.
No,
Mhm.
so here's the thing. I think about ego, and I think it was my ego that kept me from coming into yoga. You've said this before. I was scared I would be such a dumbass in yoga that you'd be like, what are you doing?
Oh,
Why did
Ben.
you?
Mm-hmm.
Again, no one cares what I'm
Yeah.
doing. Everyone's
No, they
worried about what they're
don't.
doing. But but learning that there's also a manual override button that you can hit, and I think it was trying to keep me from embarrassment. So, you know, but sometimes you got to throw your ego out the window and just go to work.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so then you think you're doing okay, and you guys change up the poses, and all of a sudden I'm doing this frog thing, and I'm like, what in the hell? And so
This
again,
frog
you
thing.
you
Yeah.
can't have an ego because yoga constantly
Sure.
challenges you to the point that you fail. And I think until you're kind of riding that red line, like, you can't grow, you can't improve.
Sure.
And that's kind of where I'm coming from when I talk ego.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I love that. And I love that you associate the ego with like finding your limits and breaking through that.
Mm-hmm.
And we
Mm-hmm.
talk a lot in yoga about eradication of the self and like the ego, the I. And there's lots of deep meanings to that of like, we're all connected, Purusha, this common energy that's all divine. And there's a lot of deep historical meaning to that, but I think the digestible piece to the average person is, yeah, how am I standing in my own way?
Mm-hmm.
And just from your story, I think that's probably been something that you've done in your past, standing in your own way, because Ben, you're capable of anything, but you're the only person being like, yeah.
Yeah, to learn that my biggest challenge is getting out of my own way. That's been a cool lesson, but also, it's one that I have to remind myself of probably every day. There's always something that my ego or whatever is doing to prevent me
Mm-hmm.
from a challenge or
Sure.
embarrassment. And so absolutely, that's probably my biggest takeaway from being a grown up and also learning how to yoga.
Learning how to yoga.
Yeah,
Remember that song? I'll teach you how to Dougie.
teach me how to yogi.
Teach me how to Yogi. Yeah. Do you remember that song?
Interesting. No.
Ken,
We'll play it for you.
do you know
Ken.
it? Ben?
Okay.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
How
I
do
know
you
the
not
dance
know?
too, of course.
Can you
Yeah.
can you do the
No,
dance
I
once
don't know
this
the
is
dance.
over?
I've seen it. I don't know how to do it.
Teach me how to Dougie. Mm-mm. So okay,
Here we are.
I like I'm really excited for this
Yeah.
next version of Ben. I want Ben to personal train me.
Mm.
So maybe I can
Ben
have
2.0.
Ben 2.0.
We've been
Mhm.
talking about this,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got to
I could
actually
eat better.
6 packs.
I could eat
6
better.
pack.
And I could have a 6-pack. I could.
Yeah.
I could do some stuff.
We'll do that.
I could up my game a little bit,
But that's going to be great, though. I love the idea of trying to help you because I know you're motivated, and I think that's
Yeah.
probably the biggest challenge in training is, you can have people pay you for training, but they've got to be motivated
Totally.
to go
Yeah,
for it. And I'm
for
sure
sure.
you guys run into that
Mm-hmm.
at the yoga studio too.
Oh, for sure. People will come sign up and I'll say, what are your goals? And they're like, I want to lose weight. And I'll be like, okay, great. And I'll check in with them and, I'll recommend classes. And then they'll be like, I'll look at their practice history and they're doing, yin 3 times a week, which is valid, but that's not going to get you to your goal of weight loss. And so, yeah, I'm excited because I'm an executor. If I'm given something to do, I
You are.
do it. I
You
don't ever not do it. And
Mhm.
so I just need to be given.
Well, we'll get you the results you want, and I'll be able to show them off to future clients.
There
That's
you
That's the
go.
plan.
No pressure.
Nice.
No pressure.
No pressure.
Awesome. This was really fun. I love these episodes where I have no idea what to expect. Yeah, or I don't know the people.
I like to live my life that way.
Yeah.
Ken,
Wow.
no idea of what to expect.
That makes 2 of us, Ken. I had no
Wow.
rightly idea what was going to happen.
Yeah. This was really fun. Yeah, anything else? Got anything?
Ben,
Annalise?
what if somebody is considering coming to yoga but they're hesitating or they're just like, meh, I don't see the value, what would you tell them?
I would say specifically to men, the women there don't feel like you shouldn't be there. That was something I wondered about. Like, I'm going to be in the back because I don't know anything about this.
Mm-hmm.
Are women going to think I'm there just to like see what's happening? No, I don't think so.
We love the men there.
Yeah,
We love everybody there.
everyone's welcome, especially
Yeah.
at
Mhm.
YogaPod. I've never been anywhere else. it's a heck of a challenge. Come hydrated, come prepared to work.
Lycra shorts,
Lycra shorts
nothing
for
else.
sure.
Gold
Camel
Compression
tail.
shorts,
Yes.
compression
Division
shorts.
sign. And
Division sign.
yeah,
Your
lycra-
junk.
Your division sign. Yeah.
One
Like-
ball's above the other ball.
It can get that way when you get in these weird yoga positions.
Okay.
You can go full on division sign, and that's when you know that you've achieved
That's when you've
Something.
actually reached enlightenment, when your
enlightenment.
junk goes full division sign.
Yeah, so be ready for that.
Got it.
Also, it's just it's something that's going to continue. No matter how good you get, it's going to stay challenging. And
Oh yeah.
and so you just keep coming back. And what my favorite part is after everything's all done, the mental clarity. There's almost like a runner's high from it, and it's just a great feeling of a very good use of your time. You never leave there wishing you wouldn't have gone.
Agreed. Awesome.
Thanks, Ben.
Yeah, that was really fun.
You're fun, Ken.
Yeah. No, you're fun, Maj-Lis.
No.
If you enjoyed watching this, share it. Yeah. All you people out there that might be watching this right now, just hit the little share button. That helps us. Rate and review us, all those things. We will be back here next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. 11:30 Tuesday. And hopefully we see you in the studio. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Double-handed waves are the best.